Before we begin, this video was recorded on June 13, 2026. This situation is developing rapidly and details may change, so make sure you check the latest news for updates. Right now, world leaders are watching what could become one of the most significant diplomatic developments in the Middle East in years. Pakistan says the United States and Iran have agreed on text of a peace deal and could sign it within the next 24 hours. Iranian officials have signaled progress. Washington says negotiations have reached the highest level, which is good. If the agreement holds, it could ease tensions that have pushed the region to the brink of a wider war and shaking global energy markets. Before we celebrate, history offers an important one, because this is not the first Middle East based to generate headlines, hope and promises of a new era. And history shows that signing a deal is often the easy path. Keeping the peace is much harder. So today on HistoryPulse, we will examine what is happening right now, how we got here, what history teaches us about agreements like this, and why the outcome could affect people far beyond the Middle East. So what is happening right now? Now let's begin with the facts. For months, American and Iranian negotiators have exchanged proposals through mediators after direct talks broke down earlier this year. Now, Pakistan says a final text has been agreed and could be signed electronically within days. Officials involved in the process have described the negotiations as constructive, while expressing cautious optimism about a breakthrough, which is normal. But here is an important catch. Although both sides acknowledge progress, they continue to publicly disagree on key details. Statements coming from Washington and Tehran have not always matched. Reports about the content of the proposed agreements have been disputed, and both governments remain careful about committing publicly to terms that have not yet been officially announced. In other words, a deal will be close, but until signatures are on paper, uncertainties remain. That uncertainty is exactly why the world is paying such close attention to this issue. Now, how did we get here? To understand why this agreement matters, we need to understand how the current crisis began. The present conflict erupted after US and Israeli military strike against Iran triggered a broader regional confrontation. The consequences were immediate. Oil prices surged, shipping routes became increasingly vulnerable, markets reacted with fear, and governments around the world worried that a regional war could become something much larger. At the center of the crisis was the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important maritime choke points. A significant share of global oil exports passes through this narrow waterway every day before the war. Any disruptions there affect energy prices worldwide, not only Middle East. Negotiators are focused on several major issues, including regional security, sanctions, relief, maritime access, and concerns surrounding Iran's nuclear program. Pakistan has emerged as a key mediator, maintaining relationships between both Tehran and Washington and working to the differentiate between the two sides. Whether those efforts succeed remains the same, but if a deal is reached, that is, if it could represent the most significant diplomatic breakthrough since the conflict began. Now, what does history tell us about deals like this? Because dramatic peace announcements are not new. In fact, the Middle East has seen several landmark agreements that were celebrated as turning points. We have the Camp David Accord of 1978, when Egypt and Israel signed the Camp David Accord. Many believed a new chapter had begun. The agreement succeeded in making peace between the two countries. However, it did not resolve the broader conflict shaping the region. Yes, people celebrated, however, the challenges remained. 15 years later came the Oslo Accord of 1993. Images of Israeli and Palestinian leaders shaking hands on the White House lawn became symbols of hope around the world. Many believed a lasting settlement was finally within reach. Yet decades later, the core issues remain unsolved and violence continues. Another one, we have the Abraham Accord of 2020. This time around, several Arab countries normalized relations with Israel, creating renewed diplomatic and economic partnership. Supporters called it a breakthrough. Critics argue it left major regional disputes unresolved. And within a few years, tension once again escalated across the region. The lesson from all these examples is not that these agreements failed. Some achieved important goals. The lesson is that agreements rarely relate with our political, religious, strategic, and security issues that created the conflict in the first place. They try to manage the conflict. They do not automatically solve them. So will this deal be different? That is the question analysts are asking today. There are reasons for optimism. Both sides face enormous economic pressure. Regional governments are eager to avoid further escalation, and mediators appear genuinely committed to finding common ground. But serious obstacles remain. Questions surrounding Iran's nuclear activities have not disappeared. Trust between Washington and Tehran remains extremely low after decades of confrontation. And there's another major factor, which is the state of Israel. Even if the United States and Iran reach an agreement, regional stability will depend on how other actors respond. The peace deal between two countries does not automatically end every conflict connected to them. History reminds us of that again and again. So why does this concern Nigeria and Africa at large? You may be wondering, what does any of this have to do with Nigeria? The simple answer is energy. When tension rises in the Persian Gulf, oil prices or oil markets react. When oil markets react, fuel prices move. And when fuel prices move, the effects are felt everywhere, from transportation costs to food prices and inflation. A stable Middle East generally means more stable energy markets for the whole world. A renewed conflict means higher uncertainty and potentially higher costs for consumers around the world. So while the negotiation may be taking place thousands of kilometers away, the consequences are felt not only in Africa but all over the world. So this is why we need to understand that history teaches us that signing a deal agreement is only the beginning. The headlines may arrive tomorrow or not tomorrow. The celebration will follow or may not follow, but the real test will not come in the next 24 hours. It will surely come after 6 months from now, possibly 1 year from now, because in the Middle East, peace is not measured by signatures. It is measured by whether the violence stays buried after the cameras leave. Now, what do you think? Will this agreement become a genuine turning point in the Middle East, or will it join the long list of peace deals that raise hopes without resolving the deeper conflict? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this analysis, share the video and subscribe to HistoryPulse, where history meets the world you live in today. I'll see you in the next episode.